Hello everybody and welcome into episode 5 of Guildcraft. Now, watching back the other 4 episodes, I've noticed they all have a similar flaw. We haven't looked at what everyone else has done. Just look around my guild area. There's so much that other people have done that I haven't really highlighted in the way they clearly deserve. I mean, I just built a well back there. That's really not much, but I'm the only journey you've been following. So I think today we take a decent look at every single one of the guilds and every single member's base on this server. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we have the well. I mean, it's not really much to look at, but it is the oldest structure and will house something bigger later. But for now, it's just kind of sitting there. And here, we have Saunders' base. He's the only other person online right now. You can see very clearly that it's marked out by his head. And while this house isn't the perfect thing, it definitely works for what he uses it for. He has a decent amount of storage, a nice interior. While he doesn't have a floor, he does have a decent amount of carpet. And of course, he has his heads marking out, the berry bushes and lanterns, all give it a nice little touch and a little bit of depth. Speaking of a little bit of depth, here is Ken TV's base. I really like him for his texturing. And this has been my relationship with him since a different SMP entirely. Of course, very similar in structure to Saunders' base, although it was the first one to be built. It's not much whenever it comes into the depth department, but when you look at the texturing on the roof, it kind of just brings the whole build together. And it looks like he has a dirt block here, so let me just go ahead and fix that for him. The interior isn't too much to look at. Of course, he has a Saunders head above his bed, as all people should. But overall, it's a pretty simple base, but just like Saunders, it gets the job done. But what's not a pretty simple base is Draconics. Putting himself here at the front of the guild area, a little extra, but it looks pretty nice as this kind of centerpiece behind the well. As you can see, he had those 2 gems, which are both really cool in their own respects. But he didn't have any heads marking out his base, but unfortunately I don't have any of his heads to change that. But as you can see here, he has a really picturesque front. You can walk up to it and it really feels something right out of a fantasy novel. Those 2 crystals are really my favorite detail, and he also doesn't have one of his own heads in any of his chests, so I can't put them out the front to indicate his house. But to be fair, I guess I don't have a house to indicate, or I didn't put any on the well. But look at how amazing this goes. I really have to commend the work with the trees in the background. Of course, the crystals are nice, although I do kind of want to steal the redstone. But the tree work has really set a really nice backdrop for this base. So that has realistically finished my guild. I mean, we haven't looked at everything, but we do also need to take a second to talk about our infrastructure. Of course, here we have the villagers. I have decent armor on, I have decent inventory. We have over there the slime farm and the XP farm, both of which make us kind of the titans of industry when it comes to the Guildcraft server, at least for the time being. Over here, I have a bit of a snow farm, which is really a rare thing for being in the savanna biome like we are. Of course, we have the slime farm, as I already mentioned, which is really a high-power machine, which has gotten me an absolute ton of slime. Here, I'll actually show you it. That's a bit of slime, which I'll be using for projects later. So much slime, I don't really have to run the machine anymore. And we have one of the best lighting systems, not just torch spamming all around the base. Although I do still have to work on it a little bit, we have worked a decent amount. Here is where I took the episode 4 searching for snow thumbnail, right there. I did have a snow golem there, but it looks like the snow golem has unfortunately died, probably to some rain, judging by the fact the snow didn't go off the platform. And over here we of course have the armadillo XP farm, along with a little bit of a chicken farm that I've set up to get me eggs, and I will eventually have it be an automatic food farm over here. It's right now just getting me a handful of eggs, but soon, once I get it kick-started, it will soon be producing me chicken, so I can finally get a decent source of food on this server. That's something I think the entire server has been struggling with. I do really like the walk up to our guild. It's really picturesque. I can't seem to use that word enough. But it is certainly a standout of the server. Now, next things next, it's time to make our way over to the other guild on the server. Right now, there are only two. There is the Keepers of the Well, or the Well Keepers, or whatever other name we decide to give ourselves. We still haven't fully decided. Those are just the only ideas that have been floating around. This is, they call themselves Triple Baka, and I wish I was making that up. But they do it for a decent reason, at least. But here is their guild area. Now, this is situated almost directly at spawn. Over here, we have the best builder. They, of course, have a Miku skin. And have kind of been, you know, ingrained into this guild, the whole idea of the three Vocaloids. But this is the House of Mass Chaos, one of the best builders on the server. This is also her project. Of course, this one's highlighting her building skills just a bit more rather than her starting shack, which is, of course, providing her shelter for now. Over here, this is King Nick's building. He was originally just building the middle tower, but he has clearly been up to more than just building, even though that is the thing he really started with. Of course, not online, unfortunately. But he has this nice little walkout balcony, and he has a really fashion over function base that I really can't understand. And as you can see, this little addition over here was actually my idea, because he was just planning on building it just that metal tower. And also, if I would just like to point out, the roof on that tower was looking quite nice. Here is their original shack the three of them lived in the first couple nights they were on the server. Nothing too much to see in that regard. So, I think now is a time that, since we're done looking around all of the server, I think it's time to go back to our base and talk about the future of Guildcraft. So here in the battlefield, I want to tell you about the problem. Of all the really cool houses I've shown off thus far in the video, I can't help but notice that mine is none of them. Sure, I do have the well, which is at least a structure that can be tied to my name, and I have helped out with a lot of the other builds on the server, and have done all the industrial builds. I've done quite a lot, actually. I do want to build an actual base, and I think right here at the pumpkin patch is the perfect place to do it. See, since it's already episode 5 and I haven't yet built a base, I think, honestly, I kind of want to build a bit of a fisherman shack. So, I think it's time we can go ahead, hop into a time lapse, and get right on that. After, of course, I grab some leather from these wandering trader llamas. And here we have it, my little shack on the water. And while it's not the perfect thing, I'm not sure if you can see in the time lapse, but the roof is definitely a little worse for wear. You can see that log sticking out there. It is definitely one of my favorite buildings I've made because it's not necessarily made to look perfect. It's just made to look good enough for a fisherman to live in, which really is just a roof and maybe some running water. So, of course, it's relatively detailed. I really tried doing a lot. I was actually watching a video of someone building, and they showed the trick of how to make open windows. I was like, I definitely could do that. So I did it, and it looked really nice with the design. It's really fun. I'm not exactly sure which way the chimney should face. That's always one of my biggest dilemmas, but I do, out the back here, have a pretty uneventful wall. I might put some windows on it. I have the furnace inside, which is all the interior I have for the time being. We'll probably tackle that next episode. And, of course, we have our dock. I got little fish on it because I just wanted to add that detail. I also have this rope that's kind of tied off to a sunken boat. This other one that's actually tied off to a floating boat. I thought I kind of added just a little bit more character to the build having a sunken boat rather than just two perfectly upright ones. So, overall, it's a pretty simplistic build, but I really have fallen in love with it. And while it's not perfect, there are going to be changes that I'm going to have to make to it in the coming episodes. It is certainly a build that I can use to throw all of my stuff in for the time being. So, with that being said, I think it's almost time to end the episode. Of course, I want to show you, before that, the roof, because whenever I said it was worse for wear, I did mean it. It was supposed to be just the deep slate gradient. Well, not gradient, I guess, the deep slate with texturing. But, unfortunately, the way the roof is shaped, I needed to kind of alter it to get the wall looking good. So it's either the wall looks good and the roof doesn't, or the roof looks good and the wall doesn't. But, for now, I think I'm going to spend my time being a humble fisherman in my humble fisherman shack. So, with that, if you have enjoyed Guildcraft, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. And if you want to join yourself, there are open applications in the Discord server in the description. So, with that, I think we're just going to sit here and fish for a while. And I'll see you all in the next episode of Guildcraft. Goodbye.